Hey everybody, welcome back to Emergency Watches. This is the second video. If you watched the first one, I want to thank you, and if you subscribed, I want to send you an even bigger thank you. It really does mean a lot to me, and I really want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. So today's video is going to be my top 3 choices for G-Shocks for first responders. You might be wondering, why should you even bother listening to me? The first reason is because I am a first responder. I've worked in EMS for 14 years. I've seen a lot. I've done a lot. I've worked everything from car crashes to a helicopter crash, shootings, stabbings, and just like you're playing medicals and everything in between, right? So I know what's expected out of my watch, and I know how these watches that I'm suggesting perform in real life, in the real world. So before we get into my top 3 picks, I kind of want to explain why I made these picks and how I picked them. And they're just things that you might want to keep in mind when picking out your own watch, right? So the first thing is reliability. You know, if you can't rely on your watch, then what good is it? I do feel like pretty much any G-Shock kind of checks that box. I don't think that's really a big worry when you're picking out a G-Shock. The second thing is you want to make sure it's easy to see and read. I kind of stay away from negative face LCD screens. The MIP memory and pixel screens are a lot easier to read, but the LCD screens, my aging eyes just can't make it out sometimes. So all of these watches are positive display. It's up to you if you want to go with an analog display. I mean, if your vision is better than mine, by all means, go for it. Another thing would be make sure it's comfortable to wear. All these watches are comfortable for me to wear, but it's kind of like shoes, you know what I'm saying? Where like a shoe that fits me good might not fit you as well, just because of the minor differences in the shape of in this case, our wrists. So I'd always suggest, trying on the watch first, just to make sure it's comfortable. Because if it's not comfortable, you're not going to wear it, and then what good is it? And then the last one is durability. Now, this is another thing that I feel like all G-Shocks kind of check the box on. I don't think that's really a problem with any of these watches or any G-Shock that you might pick. And in all honesty, despite what you see in movies, in TV, you're not like jumping into fires. You're not jumping into water. I don't really bang my watch on a whole lot of stuff. If anything, I bang it on walls and doorways more than anything else. And any G-Shock can survive that. So those are just the things to keep in mind when picking out your own watch. And again, before we get into the top 3, I promise you I'm not trying to keep you in suspense. I just want to do a couple honorable mentions that didn't make the list that people might have expected to make the list. The first one is going to be the GW9500 Mudman. Excellent watch. I have 2 of them myself. I have the plain one, and then I also have the one in emergency colors. They're just a little big for my taste on the job. I have worn it on the job. It was okay. Again, it kind of came back to that comfortable thing where it's comfortable for everyday wear, but it's a little stiff to wear on the job. It's nice having those big digits on the screen. So if you need one that's easier to read and you need a little bit bigger screen, that might be a good choice. Just for me, it was just a little too big and bulky. So the second honorable mention is going to go to the 3rd generation Rangeman, the GPR H1000. Great watch, but again, it's a little bulky, a little big to wear on the job, especially if you're wearing long sleeves. The MIP display is definitely a lot easier to read than an LCD, so that's not really a problem. It might be a little bit harder to read in a dark environment. And the other thing is that it also needs to be charged, but that's if you just want to use like the heart rate sensor and things like that. If you're just worried about timekeeping, G-Shock does say that solar charging does keep the plain watch functions working. So that it's kind of a problem, kind of not a problem. All right, so enough of that. Let's just go ahead and get into the top 3. That's why you're here. I don't want to keep you waiting. It's coming in at number 3 is going to be the 1st generation Rangeman GW9400. I've worn this on the job many, many times. It's never been a problem. It can be a little bulky to fit under your sleeve if you're wearing long sleeves. I mean, if it's summertime and you're wearing short sleeves, don't worry about it. But this is an extremely reliable watch, easy to read if you get in the positive display. So some of the pros are going to be it's tough solar, it's multi-band 6, again, easy to read, and then it has additional tools, so should you need them, the ABC sensors, altimeter, barometer, and compass. Also has a thermometer on it, which the thermometers on the G-Shocks aren't really all that reliable because when you're wearing them, your body kind of heats it up, so it's always reads a little bit higher than what it actually is. But if you need those tools, they're there for you. If you're doing like wildland fire, or if you're doing, I don't know, some backcountry search and rescue, those tools might come in handy for you. And one of the main key points on this watch for first responders are the buttons. The buttons are huge. The buttons have a nice little creepy feel to them. I've been able to easily press them while wearing gloves, whether it be nitrile gloves or like wintertime gloves. And it has a nice big button in the front if you need the light. You can also turn on the auto light if you need it. But if you didn't have it turned on and you did need the light, it's right there, easy to press. Some of the cons to the Rangeman might be, if you have a smaller wrist, it might be a little bit too bulky for you. It is a little bit bigger. It is a little bit taller. So again, it does kind of pose a problem if you have to wear long sleeves or if you are just wearing long sleeves. If you might notice, I'm wearing my work hoodie right now because earlier I was doing some demos, just trying to see how it fit under the cuff. This is a Carhartt hoodie, and the sleeves or the cuffs, I should say, are kind of elastic to kind of keep the wind out, so they're tight and snug, but they do stretch. And honestly, all of these watches did kind of pose a little problem with the cuff, but it wasn't anything that I couldn't just kind of like shimmy and work back in there. But again, personal preference, up to you. So number 2 is going to be the GW5610. Yes, of course, we got to put a square on there. This is a highly popular watch with not just first responders and military, but with just everybody. This is definitely a go-to watch, and it's a must-have if you are a G-Shock collector. Now, if you're a keen-eyed viewer, you will notice that this is not a GW5610. This is a GW5000U. But it's just for demonstration purposes. They're pretty similar in size, form-wise. I just wanted to give you guys an idea of how it would look. Honestly, why did I not buy a GW5610 is because I knew I was going to be buying this one. So why buy that if I'm going to be buying that? So I just tried to save myself some money because I already knew I was going to go for the more expensive option sooner or later. So I was just trying to save money. But to the pros of this one is, again, tough solar, multi-band 6, easy to read. You got everything you need there on the main screen. You got your time, you got your date. It's all right there. This is extremely comfortable to wear. It's a little bit smaller watch. So if you have a smaller wrist or if you just prefer a smaller size G-Shock, this is going to be perfect for you. It still posed a little problem on the cuff of the sleeve, but it was the least problematic out of all these watches. So if you have to wear long sleeves again, this is something you might want to consider. The only downside to the watch is the buttons are small and they can be hard to wear. They can be hard to press, especially if you work in EMS and you're wearing gloves, or if you work in fire and you're wearing gloves. That's just something to keep in mind if you need to press buttons. It's a little tougher because they're so small. And the only other downside I can really think of is if you have a huge wrist, this might look a little small. I can't vouch for the 5610, but on the 5000U, it has a little bit smaller strap. I don't have a very big wrist at all, and it's a little tough to put on because the strap's a little short. But that's just like a little nitpick, because this is a highly popular watch, and obviously it's popular for a reason because people love it. Okay, so this is the moment you've all been waiting for. This is why you're here, my #1 pick for a G-Shock for first responders, and it is none other than the workhorse itself, a GW6900. This has been my mainstay watch for many, many years, pretty much throughout my entire career. I may stray away to the 5000U, I may stray away to the Rangeman, I even strayed away to the Mudman like I was talking about earlier, but I always come back to the GW6900. And why do I do that? It is because it checks all those boxes I talked about earlier. It's easy to read, it's comfortable to wear, it's reliable, and it's durable. It checks all those boxes and then some for me. It's a perfect medium between the 5610 and the Rangeman. It's not too big, but it's not too small. To me, it's chef's fucking kiss, right? So the pros to this watch are going to be, no surprise here, tough solar, multi-band 6, easy to read, has everything you need on the screen, your time, your date. The buttons, while they're about the same size as the 5610, for some reason, I don't know if it's just because they protrude out a little bit more, but they're a lot easier to press with gloves on for me. And another main benefit of the 6900 over the 5610 or the 5000 is the light button. The light button is front and center. It's its own dedicated button, super easy to press, whether you have nitrile gloves on or any type of gloves on. It's easy to reach, easy to press. Again, the 5610 has those tiny buttons and it's kind of tucked away in the corner there. Not an impossible task, but in an emergency, you just want to be able to hit it if you need it. But again, you could also keep your auto light on, but it also has a tendency to not light up when you want it. So if you need the light button, super easy to press on the 6900. All right, so what do you think? Did I get it right or did I get it wrong? Do you agree or do you disagree? If you disagree, it's perfectly fine. You're not gonna hurt my feelings. Maybe you're an analog person. I did not list a single analog watch on this list. I just prefer digital, so that's why every watch on the list was digital. So please, if you think a watch should have made the list but didn't, drop me a comment. I'll definitely check it out. These were just watches that I've personally worn. I can vouch for them and how they perform in the real world. So that's how these got picked. But please just don't discount the fact that getting a nice, reliable watch is an important part of being a first responder. If you end up with an Apple Watch, whatever. But any G-Shock will definitely check those boxes. And just make sure whatever watch you do get, just make sure it makes you happy. All right, so that's going to wrap it up for this video. I hope to see you in the next one. Until then, thank you for your time.